Well, when you turn to taking a look at what's in the news today, that is what is leading the news. That's what's dominating the headlines. Joined by the panel now, Liberal MP for Monash, Mary Aldred, Sky News contributor, and one of my fellow writers at The Spectator Australia, Terry Barnes. Welcome to both of you. Mary, can I begin with you? What would a Royal Commission be able to do that Dennis Richardson's review can't do?
Well, Dennis Richardson is a fine Australian. He's an eminent Australian, but he is not able to look at all questions that we need answered right now. Every day the Prime Minister is hiding behind that podium. He is showing all Australians that he is failing at the task of leadership. We need to look at, and Susan Lee and the opposition have put out some suggested terms of reference. We need to look at the catastrophic rise of anti-Semitism in the last 2 years. I note that the Executive Council of Jewry have said they've seen a 314% increase in anti-Semitism in 12 months alone. We need to look at the Migration Act 1958, particularly around visa refusals and some of the issues that we've had there. We need to look at our national security agencies. We need to look at the media. We need to look at the Human Rights Commissioner's failure to really stamp out anti-Semitism in the way that it should have been. So this needs to be far broader than the review that the Prime Minister has set forward. And this is not just me saying this, Kel. It's not just the opposition saying this. We've had Peter Cosgrove, a former Governor-General and Chief of the Defence Force. We've had former Labor Premier Peter Beattie say that we need a Royal Commission. Josh Frydenberg, of course, the families of the victims of the Bondi terror attack today. We've had former federal court justices say there needs to be a Royal Commission. The parents of Katrina Dawson, the victim of the Linseed Cafe attack. So this is widespread, and I think the majority of Australians are demanding nothing less right now.
Yes, and you're right when you say it's not just the opposition, but it is the opposition. I mean, one of the things that Anthony Albanese does at these news conferences is to say, well, look at what the opposition is calling for. 73 different topics they want looked at. Susan Lee talked about the desperate need for a Commonwealth Royal Commission today. Here's part of what she said.
Members of the community believe this attack was not inevitable, but preventable. Yet, instead of listening to those most affected, the Prime Minister has decided to speak over them. By speaking over victims and their families and declaring that his pathway forward is the right one, the Prime Minister has actually insulted those who have endured the unimaginable.
Terry Barnes, one of the things that some of the newspaper columnists have been saying is that by attacking Albanese and saying he's not doing the right thing, we're politicising a national tragedy. We're not doing that, Terry, surely.
No, I don't think we are, Kel. I mean, basically, Susan Lee is right. We have to look at the bigger picture. We have to look at the underlying causes, the underlying effects of this cancer that is anti-Semitism, that has been in our country, in our nation for a long, long time. We thought it was gone. We thought it was done and dusted, but it's back. And I think the last couple of years have been a big part of that. And the way that, as you pointed out, really the time to actually act on anti-Semitism was after the outrage at the Sydney Opera House on the 9th of October 2023, not after 15 innocent people died a fortnight ago. But the thing is, a Royal Commission can call witnesses, it can compel evidence, it can actually look at the wider picture. And then the way I see it, Kel, is that when Josh Frydenberg called for it straight after the outrage, he was saying, as a former treasurer in the Morrison government, you can look at what we did in our time. So if the Prime Minister is worried about the politics of it, I mean, he's got the previous government to look at as well. I just don't understand where he's going. But when the families came out, as they did in that open letter today, you can't ignore that, Prime Minister. You simply cannot ignore it.
Yes. He ends up just sounding defensive, defending himself and nothing else. Meanwhile, turning to another topic, an interesting story which I think the Albanese government has used this terrible tragedy to bury, because the Albanese government has quietly increased gender targets for barristers who represent the Commonwealth and an expanded range of diversity measures that must be taken into account. It's worth noting these changes were made just one day after the Bondi attack. Mary, tell me what the Attorney-General is proposing here.
Well, it's extremely cynical, and it's looking at putting quotas attached to barristers to receive briefings on Commonwealth matters. Unfortunately, it's not the only case that we've got of the federal government being opportunistic straight after the Bondi terrorist attack. We've had Chris Bowen rolling out gas industry policies and media releases about renewable energy. And now we've got this announcement from the Attorney General, Michelle Rowland, where, of course, there are a range of things that you want to be able to take into account in briefing barristers for Commonwealth issues. That's already encapsulated in those requirements. But, we've got to make sure that the best person is awarded the job of those briefings. And I just think this is cynical, and it's certainly not an isolated example, unfortunately, either.
Yes, Terry, are we just being a bit cynical, a bit sceptical when we say dropping this kind of thing in the middle of this kind of trauma for the nation is exploitative? It's just not a good thing, is it?
Look, I actually don't think it is opportunistic. I just think it is a warped sense of priorities that the government has shown. The time to do this was not now. The rightness of doing it, I agree with Mary. I don't think it's necessary at all. You want the best person to do the brief and do the best for the taxpayers of Australia.
Yeah,
but I just think the timing of it was absolutely appalling. It was absolutely tin-eared, and really the government is just all over the shop on, well, everything. But we're now seeing this incredible shrinking Prime Minister doing this incredible shrinking governing. It's just awful.
And insensitive, surely, Terry, insensitive, because it's saying, no, our priorities are not the Jewish community, our priorities are not this suffering, our priorities are these policies we have over here.
But what the Prime Minister should have done at 6:49 on the 14th of December was basically drop everything, absolutely everything, and to actually carry on with what he would consider the normal business of government when a crisis of this scale has to be dealt with is just inexplicable.
Mm.